Hi, and welcome to episode 76 of C3 Crystals, Cauldrons, and Cocktails. I'm Wren,
And I'm River.
and today we are going to be talking about intuition. But first,
Yes.
what are we drinking?
Okay. So this was a suggestion from one of our listeners. Hi, Will. It is the Jolly Rancher cocktail. So you take equal parts of sour apple and peach schnapps, and you mix it with cranberry juice, the real stuff, not the cocktail, and edible glitter. And it is really good. But I have to say, okay, so when I was pregnant with my oldest, I was super sick. And what I used to try to get over the sickness, the morning sickness, was I would eat Jolly Ranchers.
Who told you to do that?
Well, it was the only thing that kept me from actually vomiting. So it was terrible morning sickness. I still remember sitting on the floor at work in the bathroom next to the toilet. It was just awful. So I took a sip of it, and it tastes just like a Jolly Rancher.
Okay.
I just can't eat Jolly Ranchers anymore. So
Yeah.
I'm sure it's really good. Anybody who loves Jolly Ranchers, definitely do it. But I took a couple sips and I was like, I can't do this. So thank you for the suggestion, Will. And it really is good.
It is good. Yeah.
If I hadn't been tainted by morning sickness when I was eating them, I think I would probably love it.
Yeah.
It is a bit sweet for my taste. I think Wren likes that flavor better than I do, but
Yeah, it's really nice.
okay. So we're going to talk about intuition. What is
Yes.
intuition? Intuition is sometimes referred to as the sixth sense, which I thought was interesting. It is also defined as a quick and ready insight and immediate apprehension or cognition. It's that old, gut hunch feeling, just like when you just know something.
Yeah.
The impulse comes, go ahead.
Didn't we talk about like that gut feeling an episode ago or something?
We've talked about it before because you told us a story about I think that's why we decided to do an episode on intuition, was because it came up in one of our other episodes, which
Yeah.
y'all, we're on episode 76. Yes, 76. So we can't keep track of what we've talked about.
I know, right?
So this impulse comes from the primitive part of our brains, the survival instinct. This force communicates vital information from a different level of consciousness, sometimes in dramatic ways and sometimes in mundane ways. I really like that they called it survival instinct, because I do think instinct and intuition are really closely related.
Mm-hmm.
Instinct is actually defined as an innate, fixed pattern of behavior in animals, of which humans are, in response to certain stimuli. It's said that it's hardwired into an animal, as opposed to intuition, which isn't based necessarily on a stimulus. Sometimes you get a feeling about someone that's not even near you, so it's not based on something you're seeing. Instinct is innate, inherited, and hardwired into our brain circuitry as a result of millions of years of evolution.
Okay.
Logic is also involved here. Logic, on the other hand, is analytical. It's the rational consideration of a problem, something that's done intentionally and consciously, whereas both intuition and instinct are not something that is done intentionally or consciously.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, I think the difference is that instinct is a response, whereas intuition is a feeling that doesn't necessarily come from a physical stimulus that you see right then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Dean Koontz, he's one of my favorite horror authors.
Horror.
My favorite horror author is Stephen King, of course.
Oh, mine too.
Yeah, Dean Koontz is very good as well. And he defines intuition. He says, intuition is seen with the soul. And I love that.
I've never thought of it like that.
I know. I love it. So, yeah, he's brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then Wren had that story. We had an earlier episode where she talked about a man that lived in her neighborhood growing up and that he gave you the heebie-jeebies. I can't
Yeah,
remember what it was.
yeah.
You had to go to his house for something,
Yeah,
and
I think it was the instance where there was a lost dog and like the dog
yeah.
like ran up to me and before we took it to a shelter, like as in we as in me and who not you, as in me who was in my house. We before we took it to a shelter, I wanted to make sure it wasn't anybody's animal in the
Yeah.
neighborhood.
Yeah.
So, and it's like a small neighborhood. So I went and as soon as the man opened the door, I was like, I need to leave. Like I need to get out of
Hmm.
here. Ugh.
Yeah, see, that could have been instinct because it was the result of a stimuli. You opened up and saw the man. Or it could be you're an empath, so it could be you felt something
All I
off of
know was
him.
just like really negative, bad energy.
Yeah.
And
So
I
it,
just knew I had to get out of there. And this was even before I was like into understanding
your path.
my
Hmm.
yeah, anything to do with my craft or
Hmm.
so I didn't even know what I was
Hmm.
feeling. All I knew was I needed to leave.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely probably intuition, empathy, as well as instinct all mixed
Hmm.
together in that one.
Hmm.
It's intuition is the ability to understand something immediately without the need for conscious reasoning. Intuition is not logical.
Hmm.
It is not the result of a set of considered steps that can be shared or explained. Instead, it's based on deep-seated knowledge that you have within you, but it's instinctual, basically. So
Okay.
did you know, I have a did you know, that the first use of the word intuition was found in a text at the end of the 15th century. And from then until the 17th century, it meant mentally looking at, or the act of regarding, examining, or inspecting, a view, regard, or consideration of something, which the website I was looking at said that that's an obsolete meaning now, but not really, because it is mentally looking at something. It is mentally feeling something. But
Yep,
then
but aren't we always like mentally looking at stuff? Like if we're just observing in our own mind without talking about it, aren't we all mentally,
I
observing things?
guess I feel like it means more like what Dean Koontz said, that you're seeing it with your soul as opposed to with your eyeballs. I don't
Mm.
know.
Mhm.
And then in the 17th century, scholastic philosophers actually started to use what we think of in the modern meaning of um, intuition, like the spiritual perception or immediate knowledge ascribed to angelic and spiritual beings with whom vision and knowledge are identical. So they
Okay.
started to evolve their definition of it, which I
Hmm.
thought was interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. Intuition is that innate sense of knowing or understanding that something is true. It is often referred to as a gut feeling or an instinct that you can't necessarily explain.
See, I agree with that one.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's like more on the nose of like what I'm trying to, whenever I try to explain intuition, is like you can't necessarily explain it. It's just like a gut feeling.
Yeah, I was interested to see if there were any scientific explanations for intuition where they maybe were doing CAT scans or MRIs of the brain but you don't know when intuition's going to hit you.
Yeah.
And so there are no scientific tests that can be done to test intuition because you can't just make it happen. So
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting.
Have you ever have you thought about like what if that gut feeling was wrong, like you had like a gut feeling but it didn't happen, like what you were thinking was going to happen didn't happen?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think you need to learn how to read your own intuition.
Hmm.
And I get into that later about how do you practice your intuition? How do you connect with your intuition when
Yeah.
practicing witchcraft?
Okay.
Defining what intuition looks like is super difficult too, not just because we can't predict when it's going to happen to do scans of the brain, but because it manifests differently in different people. Like
Hmm.
some people feel the hair on their neck stand up, or they get goosebumps, or they hear voices, or maybe they see a flash of an image, or they simply have a really strong feeling about something. So, how do you define it when it's different in everybody. And I think all of these forms are valid, but you've got to listen to yourself in order to figure out what method your body uses. How do
Mhm.
you use intuition? How does it happen to you? I've
Mhm.
got a story. It happened in August of 2007. And this lady says, she said, at around 5:30 p.m., 3 weeks after my husband and I got married, we were driving to the Mall of America. So isn't that like, that's like Michigan or something?
Oh, I was gonna say Ohio.
Could be
It's not. I
Minnesota.
don't know what that
It's an
is.
M state, I think.
Okay.
To watch a movie, and they were heading toward I-35 West. And her husband got this feeling that it wasn't a good idea to go that way. It was rush hour. He's like, I'm not going that way. So they took a different route. And when they left the movie that night, they turned the radio on, and the I-35 bridge had collapsed at 6:05 p.m. and they would have been on it if he had taken
Oh my
that. Yeah,
gosh.
yeah. That is intuition.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that is what I'm talking about.
Mhm.
So, another definition in the spiritual world, we often recognize that intuition is a message perhaps from the spirit, whether the spirit is an outside force or your higher inner self. Like that's how I know you look at divination is it's tapping into your higher inner self. And
Mhm.
so one definition is that that's what intuition is. It's tapping into your higher inner self.
But let's say you have like a feeling like that where you're like, let's not take that highway, like you don't have a good feeling, so you take a different route. But let's say you never turned on the radio to understand that
Yeah.
the bridge had collapsed and you wouldn't even know why. You wouldn't even know that that was an intuition,
Yeah.
instinct,
That's
or
like
whatever.
I think that story you told a few episodes ago was you were begging your husband not to go out one night
Yeah.
and nothing ever happened because he didn't go out. But
Yeah.
we don't know what might have happened if he did go out. And so there's no way to validate that that was a true
Yeah.
intuition feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I know.
Uh,
Yeah. I don't know. Because I mean, there
And
is a lot of like bad activity in the city that I live in. And like to me, I was just like, don't go out that late.
yeah,
And
you really had some kind of gut feeling.
yeah.
And I feel like that was intuition and it who knows what might have happened. And I think we need to learn to trust ourselves. I say this later too.
Hmm.
As witches especially, humans in general, we are all like, oh, we write things off. We're like, oh,
Yeah.
well, it probably really wasn't what I thought it was. I really didn't see what I thought I saw. And we're so trained to do that
Yeah.
that I think a lot of us do miss the ability. We all, I think, have the ability of intuition. It's just some people are able to tap into it and some people ignore it, you know?
Yeah. I don't know.
So,
Wow. I
la
always
la la
wonder.
la la la.
Yeah. Whoa, 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 whoa. I always wonder if maybe me physically, like not physically, I guess mentally blocking out other things. I'm blocking out a lot of other, like I'm blocking out intuition
Yeah, I wonder
and
if
all
you
of that.
shield yourself to the point where you do miss out on intuition. I
Maybe.
talk later about how to develop that skill. So
Yeah.
maybe you can start doing some of those
Yeah.
things.
Start working on it.
So intuition is sometimes likened to that voice in your head. You remember in the Disney movie with Jiminy Cricket, his conscience and
No.
Pinocchio.
No. I didn't grow up with Pinocchio.
Really? I grew up with
Really.
Pinocchio,
I think that
but
shows your generation.
yeah, I am older than you are. Um, but Pinocchio, this Jiminy Cricket was the conscience, and that's not what we're talking about when we're talking about intuition. We're not talking about, oh, I shouldn't do this because it's quote bad or whatever. That it's not your conscience. It's
Hmm.
not that nagging voice. We all have those, and we all talk down to ourselves a lot more than we ever should.
Hmm.
I think women, especially, although I'm not a man, so I don't know, men probably do it too.
Yeah,
But
I know they do. Yeah.
I know as a woman, we're raised that way. The media and we're all supposed to look like Victoria's Secret models and that kind
Yeah,
of
but you
thing.
also have to think about like if you're going to be talking about the men's perspective, men are supposed to, never show
That's
emotion
true.
and
And they're
they're
not allowed to
supposed to
cry. They're,
yeah, they're
yeah,
supposed to in terms be the man that society needs them to be. So I mean, they also have all those expectations and
so
um
I'm not
things.
talking about those negative voices. That's not what intuition is. Intuition is actually not negative. It's not going to tell you, oh, you were stupid to do that. That is not intuition.
Mhm.
That's self-esteem issues that maybe shadow work might help you with.
Mhm.
Um, my husband says I've got a ton of people in my head. He makes fun of me all the time. You've probably heard him say it. He's like, "Oh yeah, that auditorium in her head."
Yeah.
And
What
he,
there's a specific term he uses. I can't remember.
yeah,
Uh Stadium?
yes, a stadium.
Something like a
Yeah, in my
stadium.
head, a stadium full of people.
Yeah, a stadium full of people.
But
It's funny.
intuition is more than just hearing myself talk to my other selves. It's deeper than that. For a lot
Mhm.
of people, it's not even a thought, it's a feeling.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that really is how it is for me. It's more of a feeling than it
More
is
of
a
a
thought. Yeah.
yeah, that like I don't know how to explain it. It's like that gut feeling. You just know that something's wrong.
Yeah. And so we need to learn how to listen to these things because a lot of us just discount them. I think or we're too busy. I don't have time to worry about that. I'm going to move on. One person I
Mhm.
read about said that it's another little story. It was interesting. I was taking my little cousins ice skating around Christmas. I was young and in college, so I didn't feel very experienced at driving yet. I was at a light to make a left turn, but something told me not to pull out all the way, even though the light was green. On instinct, I glanced to my left. This huge SUV barreled through the red light. If I had trusted the light instead of my gut, that car would have plowed into my back seat where the three children under 10 years old were sitting.
Wow. That just triggered a memory of mine.
Yeah.
The other day I was on the way to work and I was at the light and I was the first car at the light. And how it is it's like a steep slope and you have to like, push your foot on the brake to be able to
Hmm.
not go. And so if I had released my brake pedal right as it turned green, I would have, gone. It would
Hmm.
have gravity would have done its thing and then I
Hmm.
would have stepped on the accelerator. But I had waited a second and I never do this. I probably should, where I look left and right
Hmm.
in that way because I'm going straight and it's a very busy street. And so you never know if somebody's not gonna,
Hmm.
go through the light if
The red light. Yeah.
they couldn't stop at the yellow or whatever. And something told me I was like, oh, I'm gonna look. And this car ran through the red light.
Wow.
And then I was like, okay. And I just went. But that
See,
was just like
intuition.
it was like another incident in my life.
Yeah.
It's like another moment in my day.
And then, I've had people say, oh, well, intuition's like you're psychic. It's not being psychic. That's a different thing as well. It's
Hmm.
more about sensing what's inside your own body and how you react to external stimuli, although that's more instinct.
Yeah.
Being psychic is about sensing what's outside your body. Whereas I kind of feel like intuition, where did that thought tell you? Where did it come from to tell you to look before, is it coming from inside you? Is it coming from, is your ancestors, intuition, our ancestors telling us, hey, chicka, stop? What
Yeah.
is it? I,
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know. Yeah.
Okay, so I like to theorize, like, yeah, it could be our ancestors and our, um, like, the person who's guiding us or the spirit who's
Hmm.
guiding us. It could be that. And they'd be like, well, I'm guiding you. Don't get hit by that car, right?
Hmm.
Like,
I mean,
please
some people
stop.
think it's angels,
Yeah.
which, that's not one of my beliefs, but that's a valid belief if that's what you believe.
Yeah. I
Hmm.
like the idea that I don't like it, but I like it where we are all one collective being
Hmm.
experiencing all of these lives like all at
Hmm.
once and throughout time, but we are all the same person, not person, all the same soul,
Hmm.
not soul. It's hard to
Yeah.
explain, but we're all the same thing experiencing all these different lifetimes at one time, right?
Well, yeah.
And so in a way, you already know what's going to happen. And that's another theory of mine. Wow, I'm just jumping. But
Parallel
like,
universes.
but like, I feel like, okay, let me stay on one subject.
Okay.
So we
Yeah,
all
we're about to
experience,
go down a rabbit hole,
yeah,
aren't we?
we all experience like the same, like, let's say we're all the same. Let's use soul for this instance. I don't think it's
Okay.
soul, but let's use that where we're all the same soul, just experiencing different things all at the same time, just to this earthly
Hmm.
experience is only us experiencing that, right?
Okay.
And so you already knew that that person was going to be barreling towards you because that's you in a sense,
Right.
okay? But it could also be the fact that if we do reincarnate
Hmm.
and we know what lessons we need to learn, then we already
Hmm.
know what happens in this life. So
Hmm.
therefore, we already knew that that car was going to be barreling towards us. And who's to say that we were like, yeah, no, that's not what's supposed to take us out. And we
Hmm.
already know
I
that
like the
that's going to happen.
idea, deja vu. That would be a good topic too. Deja vu.
Yeah.
Um, is one theory of that is that you are experiencing yourself in another dimension. And so, at that moment when you were about to let go of the brake and step on the gas,
Hmm.
yourself in the other dimension, perhaps they did go and died.
Yeah.
And so you were
Yeah.
feeling that in another place and time, which I think
Yeah.
is really cool.
I also like that one where like you did die, but then somehow you were it's either you did die and you were jumped into this life form, this new timeline type of hypothetically, you jumped into this timeline where if every single time you die, you just jump into another parallel universe. But there is a lot of holes in that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
there's that type of thing where I did go and I died, and then my spirit, soul, whatever, jumped into the parallel universe, and now I'm in this one
Mhm.
type of thing.
Mhm.
Or it could be, I remember seeing something about deja vu. I can't remember. I know it was probably TikTok or something. Um, but it was very interesting, and I started thinking about it, but I can't remember. It was like deja vu. It's sort of in a sense like parallel time, but not really. It had something to do with sleep, where while
Oh,
you were asleep,
interesting.
you experienced what you were going to the next day.
I like we definitely need to go down that rabbit hole in another
Yeah.
episode. Deja vu, that's a good one.
Uh-huh.
I like
Uh-huh.
that one.
Okay, back out the rabbit
Okay.
hole.
All right, back to intuition, using intuition in witchcraft. And I think I've come across the expert on this. She's got a book. Her name is Astrea Taylor, and everywhere I went, this book popped up. So she seems to be the expert on intuition. So
Okay.
you all can look her up. It's published. I didn't write down the name. Well, I might have actually. Hold on. It
Okay.
is Intuitive Witchcraft: How to Use Intuition to Elevate Your Practice. And it's by Astrea Taylor, and it's published by the Llewellyn Printing Company.
Okay.
So a lot of my information about using it comes from her.
Okay.
And she says intuitive witches, she actually classifies intuitive witches as a category, like kitchen witch or eclectic witch or whatever. She calls them intuitive witches, like it's a separate category.
Okay.
And she said they're different and that they rely solely on a honed skill set of intuitive practices that are based in energy awareness, which I think that
Hmm.
is actually kind of brilliant. I do think intuition is energy awareness.
Yeah. Yeah.
She says intuitive witchcraft is all about creating a meaningful spirituality that honors our unique souls. It's a spiritual lifestyle that celebrates the truth of who we are and what we feel.
Okay.
Intuitive witches work with different energies. We work with our own energy. We work with the energies out in the material world. We work with energies in the immaterial worlds.
Hmm.
Um, with that wisdom, we then draw from from within and we cast our spells, our will, and our purpose out into the world. But, I was reading that and I was like, honestly, I think all witches use intuition.
I think so.
I mean, I think it's just a thing. I don't know that you could be a successful witch without having intuition? I mean, you all tell me I mean, maybe I just offended a bunch of people, but I feel like it's innate in spell casting intuition. I don't know. It's how we get that will to work for us. It's, like we may borrow a format from another witch, but we follow our own inner guide in how we work our own practice, how we cast our own spells. She says that the reason she went with intuitive witchcraft is because something about the spells that she was trying to use from other people seemed more like she was trying to use a cookbook approach, as opposed to something that she actually felt inside of her. And I loved the way she put that. I think that's a great analogy of trying to do magic using a cookbook of somebody else's. It might work if you're focused enough and your will and your intent is proper and enough. But I think that's part of why it's so important to create your own magic. You create not your own magic, because to me, magic is the energies that we use when casting our intent. But I find it interesting to say that. I mean, I think that the cookbook analogy is actually a really good one. I think many times, so she was talking about this cookbook thing. I'm really having trouble here. She said that, she would pull out this quote recipe, say, that she found on the internet or whatever it was, and she might not have all the ingredients, or she might not want to work with the deity or the spirit that person used.
Yeah.
And, other times she might not like the method that recipe called for, the words of the spell that, it just didn't resonate with her. It felt like someone else's magic because it wasn't hers.
Yeah.
So I think along those lines, it is important to say that you don't have to verify every spell that you're casting or how you're casting it. I know a lot of baby witches do. They feel unsure about themselves. And so they want to make sure they're, quote, doing it right. But what feels right to you is right.
Yeah.
And I think, that's what intuition is. Yeah.
And wrong. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I like that summary of that.
Yeah.
Even though you had a hard time.
I did have a hard time. I'm so sorry. So I guess because I was taste testing the Jolly Ranchers, and now I've moved back on into my favorite wine that I like to drink. And if y'all could see my face, it's bright red.
Bright red.
It is bright red. So yeah, I'm struggling. But by the same token, if you are a baby witch and you are unsure where to start, then sure, by all means, find those recipes online. And that's a great place to start. Mm-hmm. Just, use your own intuition and go from there. And you might say, well, how do I do that? Okay, well, let's work on connecting with your intuition. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Intuition comes to you from your inner self, or maybe another world, we don't know. But it goes without saying that you need to become aware of yourself and pay attention to yourself. Like you were saying, so many of us are too busy to take notice of, like it's amazing that you actually remembered that story where you actually didn't go into the intersection and might have been killed. But, we've got to learn to become aware of these things.
Yeah.
So,
I only remember it because it just happened like a week or 2 weeks ago.
But, in your mind, you wrote it off and you were like, I could have died. And then you went on and you went to work or school or whatever it is you went to.
I was like, I could have gotten hit.
Yeah. So, it's hard to take note of these things. So the first step to really connecting with your intuition is meditation.
Oh, I need to do that more.
Yes, I think we all need to do that more. It's a great way to train your mind to focus inward, to gain that focus that you might need in order to, quote, hear your intuition.
Yeah.
It's, once you master that, which I still haven't mastered meditation, but you are then able to connect to that piece of inner self, even at times when there's chaos outside. Mm-hmm. That's the goal of meditation, is to be able to calm yourself and bring your mind to order even when there's disorder going on outside.
See,
You
I
know,
can only do that sometimes.
same, me too. Me too.
Sometimes I can do that. Oh, I have a story. So last night I almost caught our place on fire.
Oh no.
No, like literally, I almost got our place on fire.
What did you
Because
do?
I'm cooking and my husband, he likes crispy chicken, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And he just has a thing with texture. He can't do anything that resembles like fattiness, like something
Okay.
squishy, fatty textures, right?
Okay.
So whenever I bake, like we did chicken legs last night, and whenever I bake, I always put his on broil. So I'll take mine out because I don't
Yeah.
care if it's like mine was like a little crispy, but I do like a little squishy. I know I'm weird.
Mm-hmm.
And so I always put his on broil. But what I didn't realize was there was extra spices on the side, and it was on broil, and it was on the top rack,
Yeah.
and the spices caught on fire. And
Well, he had some spicy chicken.
yeah, I mean, the chicken wasn't on fire, but the spices around it on the aluminum foil
Did it
on
did it
fire.
did it taste smoky?
No, no, I caught it. I caught it pretty well because I guess you could say maybe it was intuition, but I had a
Oh,
feeling that
interesting.
something was going to happen. And so I was like, okay, I'll stay in the kitchen. And I was just like cleaning up some stuff. And then I went, oh, I need to open the stove. I opened it, like the stove. I
Yeah.
was like, what is it called?
Oven.
What is it? Oven. There we go. I need
Yeah.
to open the oven. And there was fire. And I just go, oh, there's a fire. And I pull it out. And my husband's like, take it out. Like, dump the water, dump the water. And so he comes in and he's like, he poured water. And it wasn't oil based. So it wasn't like an
Okay.
oil fire or anything.
Right.
It was just the spices were on fire from the heat. And so he takes it and pours it on after I calmly took the chicken and put it on his plate while there's this
Oh,
fire.
it's on fire.
Yeah, and he was like, "Why are you not panicking?" And I was like, "I don't know. I didn't it wasn't going to go anywhere. Like I had it controlled in the pan and I was calmly taking the chicken off." And he's over here panicking, and I think that was like a moment where I had like was like, "Oh, it's okay." And I was like in my head and like I didn't like over dramatize and like I didn't become overwhelmed. That's what I'm trying to
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
With like stress and everything
You were
else.
able to calmly address the situation.
Yeah.
That's good.
Now, I can't do that with every situation.
Yeah.
My day-to-day life is pure chaos. But I
Yeah.
do have another example where like my boss, she literally one day, like I have an employee that works with me, like we work close together. And then my boss was like, y'all do this yourself. I have a doctor's appointment. I'm going to. No warning at all, right?
Okay.
And we were panicking. Like we had no idea what to do. Our bosses don't tell us anything, right? So we have no idea. Like it's always last minute. They're
Okay.
like, "Oh, this meeting is about this, this, and this. Be ready." And we're like, "Are you kidding me? Like we don't know what's going on." And so we always have to be on our toes, and it's draining, honestly.
Mhm.
But I'm not complaining. And so this day she was like, "Yeah, I have to leave. Y'all can handle this. Bye." Right? And there's these people, like we have this company coming in and they're asking me all sorts of questions I don't know. And I'm like, I need to really stop being overwhelmed and I need to let
Mhm.
my brain just, focus. And so it was like a snap, like an instant
Wow.
where I was able to completely take control. And I was like, no, you have to go here. You go here. This is your job to do. I'm the boss right now. It was very chaotic.
Awesome.
But everything worked out in the end, and it worked out great. But it was like I just had to be able to be in that moment and let that click happen
Yeah.
to be able
Mhm.
to step into that position.
That's awesome.
So I know I can do it, but do I do it all the time? No, because it's exhausting to do that.
Yeah.
I'm over here. It's like that's a joke. Like I'm like it's more exhausting to like be in that control than it is to have pure chaos going on around.
I mean, I agree with you.
I mean,
Is.
I'm just used to the
It's
chaos, I
it's
guess, but
hard to
like,
be a leader. You took a leadership role, and that is stressful. That is hard to do. Yeah.
it was just like it was in it's an instant where it's just like I need that click to happen in my head.
Mhm.
And I mean, it's like that with me and other things too. I could talk about myself. Obviously, I have a podcast for a while, but I mean, one more example is like I needed to remember the things that my bosses were telling me. This was my first week at work, right?
Hmm.
I was dumb. I didn't have a notepad. You need to have a notepad, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And they were like, "Oh, can you do this, this, and this?" And it's you can find it here and here. And it was like a whole log of like go to find it in these files. And it was like in this file you click on this file, in this file you click on this file.
Hmm.
And in that instant when she was telling me, it just clicked. I was like, I need to remember this, and I was able to remember it exactly.
Wow. Nice.
But if I didn't have that click, I would have been screwed. So I think that's kind of my survival mode in my
Do
body
you
as
think
well.
do you think that click is your intuition?
Probably. And
Interesting.
and it's when I say it's like a click, like I can physically feel a
It
click.
snaps into place. I've
Yeah,
had that
it's
too.
like I need that, and that's
I
that's
think
really
so.
only happened in my life a couple of times.
I think that is intuition. It's where you're like, this is right. Click. This is what I'm supposed to do. And then you go.
Hmm.
That's cool.
It's only happened in the very most recent instances have been the past like 6 months,
Interesting.
just due to stress. And I don't know if that's intuition or if that's
Well,
just
you're
like,
also at the end of your educational journey as an undergrad. And so you have grown and you are now ready to take on those roles.
I wouldn't say that.
I would. I've seen you grow through, you
I'm
know.
so unprepared.
I don't think that's true. See, that's that negative Nelly thought in your head.
I guess.
Yeah, see, we need to get rid of those things.
No, I'm very prepared. Can you hear me shake my head?
Yes, I could hear the in your
Yeah.
voice, the
Uh,
shaking in your voice.
yeah. Sorry. Sorry
Well,
about talking about me.
okay, so meditation,
Uh-huh.
once you get that down, which I still haven't gotten down. I
Yeah,
mean,
me
to
neither.
me, I do need to do it. I'm still into the guided meditations, but
See, I used to meditate all the time. Like I had gotten really into meditation, but this was a time when I wasn't honing in on my craft at all.
yeah.
And so I feel like it
What
was
was it
kind of
for? Just for
just
stress
to,
or?
yeah, just for stress and just to like,
Oh, well,
unwind.
you were
And I
honing
was
in
a
on your craft, you just didn't know it.
I just didn't know it. And I
Yeah.
was a really big fit health guru type
Mhm.
of person as well. And so I just did meditation as a part of like the end of my workout and my
Mhm.
exercise and
Oh, that's
just like a
smart.
way to like hone in on what I was working for or whatever,
Oh,
whatever it
that's a
was.
good idea. Maybe I could convince myself to work out more if I actually meditated at the end.
Yeah, because
I like that
my
idea.
way of working out is working out to better myself. So in a way, it was like I worked out to mental like take care of
Yeah.
my mental health,
Yeah.
and it helped my physical health as well.
I
And so
like that.
I meditated after yoga, like I would do workout, like high intense workout, yoga, and then meditation. Do I do that
Yeah.
now? No.
I mean, yoga's a thing too.
Oh
It's
yeah,
kind of an innate self-care type
yeah. No, I
meditation in and
loved
of
yoga when
itself.
I did it. I just
I've never
feel
done
like
yoga.
I haven't had time. I love yoga.
My favorite thing to do, my favorite exercise to do, and I hadn't done it in years, which I need to get back into it, is belly dancing. To me, that is a very, well, number one, it's sensual. It makes me feel beautiful when I'm doing it. And it's exercise. And I do feel like it's kind of an innate, it's like yoga in that you're connecting with yourself, I think, when you do it.
Mhm, mhm.
I'll
So
have
would
to,
that say that's your form of meditation? I
yeah,
feel like
maybe so.
meditation's very versatile because it's just a way for you to, you know, hone in and relax and whatever. So
Hmm.
it's not just like you sit down on your on your butt on the floor on your couch and
Right.
crisscross like
And you
your
do the
legs and you just
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
It's not, I
Yeah.
mean, when people think about meditation,
And
I know what they think about,
that's a
but
good,
it's not
that's a
always that.
that's a good way to say this because, okay, so I'm going through this list and I'm like, yeah, you need to train yourself in meditation. But that might be different for you than it is.
Mhm.
It might sound really overwhelming to say, oh my God, I can't meditate. I can't ever calm my mind. But like we just said, there are different ways that
Yeah.
meditation might work for you. So don't be overwhelmed. Try out a bunch of different ways. One
Yeah.
of my friends likes to do, what is that goat, where the little baby goats climb on your back?
Goat yoga.
Goat yoga. I'm
I've
like,
always wanted,
no.
I mean, I wanted to do goat yoga, but
I
also
want
like,
to go play with the goats. I don't want the goats climbing on me when I'm trying to do these
yeah.
impossible things that are going to make me fall over. If you know me,
Yeah.
I'm a klutz.
Yeah.
Okay. So meditation is one way to start connecting with your intuition. Grounding is another way to bring yourself into the present, open your mind to receiving messages. Personally, I hate shoes. I absolutely hate shoes.
I do too.
My husband wears them all the time. He wears them in the house. I
Psycho.
I hate shoes.
Me too.
For me, grounding is as simple as walking outside barefoot in the dirt. I love that feeling.
I don't know. For me, it's just taking off my socks.
Oh yeah, we've had the socks. What episode was it? We just got
I
into.
don't know.
I think that's deeper than we all want to know about, Wren.
I just hate
It was
socks.
over sensory socks was the name
Yeah.
of one of our
Yeah.
episodes. Yeah.
I hate socks so
I mean,
much. Ugh.
I don't wear shoes inside. I don't wear shoes outside if I can get away with it. I don't like shoes. And
Mhm.
I love to go barefoot outside in the grass. And that is a great way to ground yourself. The flying the hedge website, which is listed, we'll put it in our things as our sources. I'm assuming it's a woman, but it could be a male. I don't want to um, say it didn't have the author's name. It was just the website was Flying the Hedge, had a list of ways to try to connect to your intuition. So, number one, it was take a few hours away from technology, which I think is kind of brilliant.
That's a
We
good idea.
all get bogged down in that,
Yeah.
we're instantly connected all the time to everyone from work to family to social media.
Yeah.
Everybody is right there instantly. You need to take time away from that. And I need to do this myself. I keep trying to come up with a bedtime routine where I do a bath with herbs, an herbal bath before I go to bed.
Yeah.
And I don't, because right now, my routine is I'll watch TV, I'll go to bed, and for at least an hour, I'm either on TikTok or Facebook or, some kind of social media or playing games. I'm addicted to the little games on the iPhone, and
Yeah.
so that is definitely not getting me ready for sleep. And,
No,
I'm
yeah. Yeah.
definitely not meditating. So, yeah, I think the idea of taking a couple hours away from technology, why do I really need to be working at nighttime when I should be trying to sleep? I
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah. No.
So
Mhm.
she also said, I say she, I
You
don't
could
mean
say
to be they. Oh, that's a good idea. So they
Uh-huh.
say journaling, which I'm actually a big fan of journaling. I love journaling. I think we've talked about it. Wren
Mhm.
likes to journal. I
Mhm.
like
I
to
love to
journal.
journal. Yeah.
Yeah. But it is a great way to help you connect to your higher self. It's a great way to delve into deep thoughts that you don't normally surface. Shadow work is another form of journaling to help you connect to your intuition. Um, do art,
Oh yeah.
doodle, draw, paint. Being creative opens up a part of your brain that I think is connected to your intuition. It also allows your mind to quiet. I know that when I'll go to a seminar and I take notes, but I also doodle. And so it helps me actually focus more on whatever the speaker is saying than if I were trying to just listen to that speaker.
Yeah.
Doodling opens up like a different level of the brain, I think.
Mhm.
Flame meditation. This is another way to get into meditation if you're overwhelmed by the idea of doing, quote, real meditation.
Mhm.
Stare at a candle flame. It's a
Oh.
great way to try to calm your mind. It's you can also use smoke like incense. A lot of people like to use incense, and watching the smoke waft up from your incense stick is another way to try to calm your mind. You know how when you drive, you find yourself thinking of other things? It's like your brain is busy doing a major thing, but then that allows your brain to open up and do these secondary things too. And I think
Yeah.
that's a lot of what this flame meditation or smoke meditation is. It helps you
Hmm.
open up a different level of your brain or a different layer of your brain.
Hmm.
Dancing. There's the stereotype of, oh, witches are always outside dancing naked under the full moon. Well, there is a reason for that, not just because we do that sometimes, but because dancing is a great way to connect with our inner selves. Connect with your sensual selves. I was talking about the belly dancing that I like to do.
Yeah.
It is very sensual, and any kind of free dancing is wonderful. It's a form of art, really, which I think also allows your brain to open and experience higher and deeper things. It increases your heart rate. It helps your blood flow, which are all good things for your brain. They say exercise is really good for opening your brain. Ritual bathing, that's another one. Helps you gather yourself, focus on your inner self, especially if you have different herbs that you might do. There's a lot of things on Etsy that do bath bombs with the herbs in them.
Yeah.
Lovely, lovely.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
search for those. Then you've got to figure out, okay, so you're getting connected. You got to figure out, where is it that you personally feel your intuition? We all have heard that it's a gut feeling because a lot of people feel it in their stomachs.
Yeah.
It makes them
Yeah.
feel sick. One of my friends feels it in her head. Some people get tingles or goosebumps. Some people feel it in their hearts.
I
I've
feel
got a
it.
story. Go ahead.
Okay. I feel it in both my gut and my head. It depends.
Really?
Yeah. Because if you talk
Okay,
about
so when
oh, it's
you
like that voice type of thing, don't
like
go.
yeah, when you were not putting on
Yeah.
the gas pedal, it was a voice, or was it in your head?
It was
What
just
was
kind
it?
of like oh, I'll wait. I don't
What
know. It was
what was it when your husband was wanting to go out that night and you were like, please, please don't go? Where did you feel that? Was it your heart, your gut, your head?
probably my head.
Okay.
And then as soon as he was like, "Oh, I know I'm gonna go," it sank into my stomach. I guess it was like a pit because I was like, "No, I know something bad is gonna happen. I can't imagine that happening."
Mm,
So I don't know. I guess my
okay.
head where I'm like, "Oh, no, 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 don't do that." And you're like, "Why?" And then I don't even know why I said that, type of thing.
I don't know how I did. I know that it's so funny. I'll hear a song or a poem or something, and it'll give me goosebumps, and I'll know that that will be a success. I just know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do get goosebumps. I think, feel it in my heart. I have this story about a kid. Well, she's not a kid anymore, but um, she said, when I was 11 years old, I was reading a book one night and I got this horrible feeling. I felt like I was going to be sick. My stomach and chest hurt. My grandma popped into my head. I was super close with her my whole life, and we had this strange bond where we knew when something was wrong with each other. I ran out of the room and told my mom I had a bad feeling about grandma, but she was on the phone. When she hung up the phone, she looked at me. She was pale. She had just gotten a call from my aunt who was playing bingo with my grandma. And my aunt told my mom that she had called 911 because grandma had had a heart attack.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say that's intuition.
I would say so.
Yeah.
And that's more what I think of when I think of intuition, is that that's not something that she looked at. That's not a stimuli that she was looking at something. That is something outside herself. So was that from her ancestors? Was that just a connection, a bond that she has with her grandma? What
Yeah.
was that? So also be aware of what intuition is not. It's not fear, like you're afraid to take a risk.
Hmm.
Some people say, oh, well, I don't want to do it. But you got to analyze, is it, I don't want to do it because I've never done it before and I'm afraid? Or is it something really telling you not to do it?
Yeah. I mean, you also have to think about I don't do a lot of things because my anxiety is
Mm-hmm.
terrible. And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm like, nah, I won't do that because it's making my anxiety flare up. And I mean that could be a
I mean,
source
that's
of
valid.
intuition. But
Yeah.
it could be I'm not scared to do that. I'm anxious to do that. Or is it, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. And then the last way that I came up with for connecting to your intuition is listen to your dreams. I
Oh
think
yeah.
you could even use a dream journal.
Hmm.
This will help you connect with your intuition and learn how to pay attention to it. Both dreams and intuition come from the unconscious. So
Yeah.
if you can tap into this part of your brain by paying attention to your dreams, I think you're that much closer to finding your intuition's voice, so to speak.
Hmm.
So, how do you use intuition in your craft? So, really, I think a good way to start is to do divination. That I
Okay.
think is a great way to practice using your intuition. So use tarot decks or oracle cards. I love oracle cards because they're light and fluffy. Tarot decks kind of suck.
Oh my gosh.
They always tell me bad things that I don't want to hear, which is probably why I should use tarot cards more. But I like
Wow.
oracle card or use pendulum scrying. All of those help you learn how to listen to your gut.
Hmm.
Don't dismiss initial thoughts. That is
Yeah.
your intuition
Yeah.
trying to speak to you. And it's really easier said than done. I understand. Um, Astrea Taylor, the one that I said was the expert, she says, listen to your body as well. That knot in your stomach might mean that you need to cast a protection spell. It might be something warning you that something bad is coming. Cast that protection spell. Butterflies in your stomach, she said, it might mean that you need to cast a love spell. Well, I don't know about love spells myself. We're going to do an episode on love spells in our After Dark
Hmm.
series
Hmm.
because, I think as light and fluffy as love spells sound, I think when you're messing with someone else's will, that's a dark thing. So
Yeah.
that will be an
Yeah.
After Dark episode. With your intuition in mind, gather whatever your items are that you want, that you think you might need to cast your spell. Some items you're going to be immediately drawn to. Your eye might go to them immediately. Your hand might unconsciously pick it up, or an image of the object might appear in your mind. If you don't have that feeling, lay all those items out in front of you and then slowly move your hand over them. Maybe you'll feel inclined to pick one up. Feel its energy, ascertain based on your intuition whether this item really matches your intuition for the spell that you are wanting to cast. Don't get caught up in correspondence or whether or not what you're doing is right. Rely upon and trust yourself. I think that is a really good moral to this whole episode.
Yeah.
Trust yourself. What
Yeah.
other people think doesn't matter.
No.
I think
Yeah.
that is such a good point. Intuition is about learning to trust yourself, which is really hard, especially for witches, I think.
Hmm.
Chances are we've been different all of our lives. We've been taught to question ourselves because we're not, quote, normal. Um, we are always second guessing ourselves because we've always been different. The further we go down our path, the better we get at trusting ourselves and learning, you know what? Okay, so I may be weird in the eyes of the world, but this is right for me.
Yeah.
Create your own correspondences. You know, we've all looked online and found that yellow means this and orange means that. And generally, those are very good starting places. But it doesn't mean that if it doesn't feel right to you, that you have to use that as that correspondence. Create your own correspondences. Your gut's going to tell you, your intuition will tell you what is right for this particular spell. And that's the same for writing your own spells. Use what works for you. Someone else's words aren't necessarily going to work for you. And I think I've talked about this before, the old charmed episode where Phoebe was in class and the girls behind her were talking about casting a love spell and Phoebe overheard and she looked at the spell and she's like, "Oh, this would never work. You got to say it this way." And she says it and the girls had been recording the class, so they caught it on tape. And then the spell worked when they played the spell back to create this love spell, which of course
Yeah.
backfired.
Yeah.
But, you know, I don't know that I believe what she was saying about how it won't work that way because it's worded that way. It'll work. It's up to it's your intent and
Hmm.
your
Hmm.
will and
Yeah.
your pulling in of the energy and using that energy in the way that works for you that matters. It's not about
Yeah.
whether it rhymes or doesn't rhyme, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I don't even know if it would work in a sense where if they just recorded her and then just because she's a, quote unquote
Right.
witch,
Which, yeah.
it would work because she's the one who said it. No,
Mhm.
I don't. Yeah.
I mean, I 100% everybody can be a witch.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. It's
you
all about
just,
intent and focus and
mhm,
yeah, hard. I
mhm,
mean, we are all children of this earth and all of
mhm.
us can harness that power.
Yeah. You know how you and I always talk about when we do a recipe, we measure it with our hearts, or
Yeah.
we put it in until it looks right, which is really not
Yeah.
helpful to our listeners, I
No,
know.
it's not, and I'm so sorry.
But that's intuition. I think all types of witches use intuition. A kitchen witch does it with recipes. Um, that's all I've got. Did you have anything else that you had come
Um,
up with?
I just have a few like stories. I didn't know if you guys would like, a couple stories based on some people's personal experience with their own
With
intuition.
Okay, I'd like to hear.
So here's one. It's from a did you know facts.com. So it kind of
Nice,
goes with your
nice.
did you knows. This one is titled Joe.
Okay.
So it says my husband bought wow. It says bought a guy. No,
He bought a guy. I
brought
want to
a
buy a
guy.
guy.
No,
No, I've
no.
got a guy. I don't want to buy a guy. I love my guy.
My
Just
husband
kidding.
brought a guy home after work one night. When I opened the door and saw him, I suddenly felt as if I was looking the devil in the eyes, which I mean,
Ooh,
per se, devil, whatever.
right.
Um, I have never before or since felt such fear. His name was Joe. He seemed nice. He didn't do or say anything wrong, but the feeling was getting stronger. We had two little girls, about 6 and 1.5. Eventually, I couldn't handle that feeling anymore, so I took the girls to a neighbor's house. I called my husband in tears and told him to get the guy out of the house and never bring him back. My husband thought I had lost my mind, but he asked the guy to leave. I couldn't explain why I felt the way I did, just that I did. A few years later, Joe was arrested for assaulting two 3-year-old girls. Always listen to your
Ooh,
gut. Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
Oh,
I know. Like,
wow.
I guess like that's sort of like like I don't know, overwhelming feeling I got when that guy opened the door and was
Yeah.
trying to find like I was like, ooh, no, no, thank
Mm-hmm.
you.
Ooh, that.
Um,
Mm.
yeah, no. Um, this one's called Happy Ending, so hopefully it has a happy ending. Last year I had no choice but to rehome a dog, which is really sad.
That is sad. I don't like that.
I know. I mean, we
It
personally,
happens.
yeah, we just got a dog who was in a rehoming situation and she's
Yeah.
lovely and she's great,
Yeah.
but the owner just, he didn't want her sitting at home the whole
Yeah. I mean,
thing.
he did
He
it
had gotten
for
a new job. Yeah.
her best interest. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it takes a lot because I mean, I could do it, but it would kill me inside.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So like they had no choice to rehome a dog. I put an ad on Craigslist. I know it's sketchy. It's a sketchy site, which is kind of funny because that's where we got our dog. It is a sketchy site, and you
It
never
is.
know. Yeah. But I'm very picky. Whenever we rehome strays we find, we make sure the people are truthful. We require a vet reference, and they have to be open to a home visit, which
Okay.
I don't know if I would be open to a home visit. I don't
I
know.
mean, because Craigslist is creepy, and I
Yeah,
don't know
super
that I want a
sketchy.
Craigslist person in my house.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I got one call where I knew that this was definitely not the right person. After talking to the guy on the phone, I could tell he wanted to use my dog as bait in dog fighting ring.
Oh no.
I wouldn't have been more certain if the guy had come out and literally told me that. Luckily, the very next call was a woman who was looking for a companion for her disabled daughter. They got along beautifully. Love at first sight for both the dog and the daughter. They live
Aw.
on a half acre lot not far away. I got a phone call a few weeks later telling me that Ninja was, I guess Ninja,
Oh, that's a cute name.
yeah, Ninja was now a certified service dog. Apparently, the daughter is also diabetic, and he could tell when her sugar was low. I'm so happy I could put the two of them together.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's funny, like this story, like, because it's so similar to how we just got our dog.
Mm-hmm.
And our dog, her site had been up for a while, like to the point where we were like, there's no way that nobody has contacted this
Mm-hmm.
person. Like we were like, this might be a scam. But we
Yeah.
went along with it. We were like, I guess intuition told us to go along with it, you know?
Yeah. And she is such a good dog,
She
y'all.
is really good. She is really
Oh,
good. I guess I'll do, I mean, I have a couple, but I'll do two more. Two more.
okay.
One more. I don't know. We'll see. This one's short.
Okay.
It says the dog knew too.
Oh,
So when I was in first or second grade, my mom had this boyfriend. When he first came over, I got a weird vibe, which in first and second grade, you got to be able to like you got to be on
yeah.
high vibrations to be able to sense that.
Yeah.
My dog, Dude, which I guess that's his name,
That's a
did as
cute
well.
name.
I like that name. He was growling the entire time. Dude was a fairly nice dog, so this surprised my 8-year-old self. My mom didn't take notice. Now, this guy didn't look sketchy. He didn't act sketchy, but he gave me an iffy vibe. They dated for 3 weeks or so. I tried to tell my mom that I didn't like him. Then one day I came home from school to find the front door wide open. My mother was passed out on the floor and my 2-year-old sister was running around the house unattended. She could have gone outside and nobody would have realized. I didn't know how long my mom had been passed out for, so I woke her up. She came to and started walking around the house looking for something. She said, he stole all my stuff. It turns out that guy stole my mom's TV, phone, cash, and iPod. I knew something was up. I was right. Dude was right. But what was an 8-year-old to do?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
that's
even
awful.
if the 8-year-old had told the mom would have probably brushed it off.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I'll do one more. I'll do
Okay.
one more. So this one's called We Don't Like Sarah.
Oh my God. Okay.
My mom is a social butterfly. She has a large friend group, and a bunch of them organize parties and get-togethers all the time. One day, one of the women in the group introduces one of her new friends to everyone, and she becomes part of the group as well. I'll call
Okay.
her Sarah.
Okay.
My mother immediately doesn't like Sarah. Maybe it's the fake tan. Oh, wow. No, don't bash the fake tan. The way she laughs, the way she handles her kids, something seemed really off. So, while Sarah was part of the friend group, she and my mother weren't especially close. Fast forward a couple years, my mom finds out some emails that reveal her husband has been sleeping with another woman for the past 8 months. She's
Oh Lord.
absolutely devastated. For whatever reason, my mom calls Sarah and she comes over to lend support. My mom cries and talks about what happened, Sarah consoling her and giving her kind words of sympathy. A few days later, she finds out Sarah was the one sleeping with her now
Oh my
ex-husband.
God. Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Ugh. But there's plenty of stories on this website. I only read what four. You guys
Yeah.
can go to the did you know facts.com slash and it's 9 stories. 9 people really lucky listened intuition.
It's so funny the things that we find when we do research. I found out that it is perfectly legal to hunt unicorns in one of the states in the United States. Can't
Unicorns?
can't remember which one. Like
So
Northeast, I think.
does that like entail people will put horns on horses and then
I
legally
have
hunt
no idea.
horses?
I'm like, how did that law ever get passed? Anyway, so
I,
yeah, we find some really funny stuff when we're doing research.
yeah,
I mean, that
we
had
do.
nothing to do with this episode, so I didn't write it down, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so that's all we've got. You can find us on our website at www.c3witchypodcast.com. There you will find everything. Links to our episodes, links to our social media, links to our blog, links to our merch. If you love our podcast and us, please support us. You can support us on patreon.com or on Buzzsprout. Either
Mhm.
way, we'll give you access to our bonus episodes in our new series, which is C3's Crystals, Cauldrons, and Cocktails After Dark.
After dark.
Yes, we love our After Dark episodes. We talk about the darker side of magic, like sex magic, baneful magic, so much more.
Uh-huh.
Also, if you come on through our Patreon, you get more than just Buzzsprout gives you the bonus episodes, and you can listen to them on your platform of choice. If you go through Patreon, you get the bonus episodes plus other goodies. Oh, my brain, it just went right out of my head. I was going to say something about Patreon. But anyway, we have supporters on both formats. So thank you guys so much.
Yes,
We
thank you
really
so much.
couldn't do this without you.
Honestly, we love you guys a lot.
We love to hear from you. We've
Uh-huh.
learned some interesting things from some of our followers. You all are
Yeah.
just so cool. Another way to help us out would be to leave reviews for us on whatever
Yes.
platform you listen to us on. So spread the word about us. Be sure to check out my store on Etsy. That's www.batsandbaublesinc.etsy.com. I do a lot of witchy things, from witchy pet collars to runes to altar bowls and more. Our merch is also on that website as well, so you can get t-shirts and wine tumblers. I'm constantly designing more items, so check back and you can support us that way if you want
Yes.
our merch.
Mhm.
So thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll be back.
We'll be back.
But until then, stay witchy.
Woo.
Gotta have the woo.
Woo.